Joseph McGrath, Irish politician. Joseph McGrath, 12 August 1888, 26 March 1966, was an Irish politician and businessman. He was a Sinn Féin and later a Cumann nGaedheal Teachta Dála TD for various constituencies: Dublin St James's 1918–1921, Dublin North West 1921–1923, and Mayo North 1923–1924, and developed widespread business interests. Political career. McGrath was born in Dublin in 1888. By 1916, he was working with his brother George at Craig Gardiner and Company, a firm of accountants in Dawson Street, Dublin. He worked with Michael Collins, a part-time fellow clerk, and the two struck up a friendship. In his spare time, McGrath worked as secretary for the Volunteer Dependence Fund. He soon joined the Irish Republican Brotherhood. He fought in Marrowbone Lane in the 1916 Easter Rising. McGrath was arrested after the Rising and jailed in Wormwood Scrubs and Brixton prisons in England. In the 1918 general election, he was elected as Sinn Féin TD for the Dublin St James's constituency, later sitting in the first Dáil. He was also a member of the Irish Republican Army, the guerrilla army of the Irish Republic, and successfully organized many bank robberies during the Irish War of Independence 1919–1921, where a small percentage of the proceeds was retained. During this time he was interred briefly at Ballykinler internment camp. He escaped by dressing in army uniform and walking out of the gate with soldiers going on leave. He was eventually recaptured and spent time in jail in Belfast. In October 1921, McGrath travelled with the Irish Treaty delegation to London as one of Michael Collins' personal staff. When the Provisional Government of Ireland was set up in January 1922, McGrath was appointed as Minister for Labour. In the Irish Civil War of 1922–1923, he took the pro-treaty side and was made Director of Intelligence, replacing Liam Tobin. In a strongly worded letter, written in red ink, McGrath warned Collins not to take his last, ill-fated trip to Cork. He was later put in charge of the Police Intelligence Service of the new Irish Free State, the Criminal Investigation Department, or CID. It was modelled on the London Metropolitan Police Department of the same name, but was accused of the torture and killing of a number of Republican anti-treaty prisoners during the Civil War. It was disbanded at the war's end. The official reason given was that it was unnecessary for a police force in peacetime. McGrath went on to serve as Minister for Labour in the second Dáil and the Provisional Government of Ireland. He also served in the first and second executive councils holding the industry and commerce portfolio. In September 1922, McGrath used strikebreakers to oppose a strike by trade unionists in the post office service, despite having threatened to resign in the previous March of the same year when the government threatened to use British strikebreakers. In December 1922, McGrath was a reluctant supporter of the government's decision to execute four high-profile IRA prisoners: Liam Mellows, Dick Barrett, Rory O'Connor, and Joe McKelvey. Army Mutiny, Resignation, National Party. McGrath resigned from office in April 1924 because of dissatisfaction with the government's attitude to the Army mutiny officers and, as he said himself, government by a clique and by the officialdom of the old regime. By this he meant that former IRA fighters were being overlooked and that the Republican goals on all Ireland had been sidelined. McGrath and 8 other TD who had resigned from Cumann nGaedheal then resigned their seats in the Dáil and formed a new political party, the National Party. However, the new party did not contest the subsequent by-elections for their old seats. Instead, Cumann nGaedheal won 7 of the seats and Sinn Féin won the other 2. Accusation of involvement in the death of Noel Lemass. In 1927, McGrath took a libel case against the publishers of The Real Ireland by poet Cyril Bretherton, a book that claimed McGrath was responsible for the abduction and murder of Noel Lemass, the brother of Sean Lemass, in June 1923 during the Civil War, as well as a subsequent cover-up. McGrath won the court case. During the 1930s, McGrath and Sean Lemass reconciled and regularly played poker together. Business interests. Following his political career, he went on to become involved in the building trade. In 1925, he became labor advisor to Siemens Schuckert, German contractors for the Ardnacrusha hydro-electric scheme near Limerick. McGrath founded the Irish Hospitals Sweepstake in 1930, and the success of its sweepstakes made him an extremely wealthy man. He had other extensive and successful business interests, always investing in Ireland, and became Ireland's best-known racehorse owner and breeder, winning the Derby with Arctic Prince in 1951. Personal life. McGrath died at his home, Cabinteely House, in Dublin on 26 March 1966. Cabinteely House was donated to the state in 1986, and the land developed as a public park. Joseph's son Patrick W. McGrath inherited many of his father's business interests, and also served as Fine Gael senator from 1973 to 1977.